think it's great. He deserves to go free. They had no evidence on him.
The jury was pretty irresponsible, and money can buy you justice.
Just don't think justice was served. I don't think the jury did their job.
Those are just a few of the very strong reactions to O.J. Simpson's acquittal for the murders of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman 28 years ago. The reaction to that verdict put America's racial divide on, well, some would say full display. And some of the jurors are still dealing with the fallout from their decision to this day and the attention that it garners. Now, this was the moment, 2 decades after Simpson's acquittal, that Kim Goldman, sister of Ron Goldman, met juror Yolanda Crawford.
The decision that 12 jurors made changed the trajectory of my life and our family's life. And it's hard to understand how 2 people can sit in a room and hear the same exact evidence and come to 2 completely different thoughts.
Well, joining me now is the juror from that clip, Miss Yolanda Crawford. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. You know, I have been, like so many people, I remember watching this all unfold for all the time that you were in the courtroom. You were sequestered, of course. I do wonder what you make of the continued fascination with that verdict.
It is, it's been 28 years. I look at it as close to 30, and it's just overwhelming, and that there's still so much attention that's brought to that case. And I was, hoping that eventually it would die down a little bit, but it just doesn't seem to go away.
Do you ever have pause or any thoughts that you made the wrong choice?
Never. I've always been very comfortable with my decision and the decision of the 11 other jurors. We were in that room. We know what went on. And again, our decision wasn't based on what we felt in our gut, whether he did it or not. It was based on what was presented at that trial, the evidence that was shown. That was given to us and that we had to consider. And at that point, there was reasonable doubt, and it was something that you could not deny. And that's why the verdict came so quick.
There are some who have talked about this, many, in fact, who talk about this and this decision in light of the fact that it came in the trial after Rodney King and the recorded beating that we all were witness to, that this was somehow a referendum broadly on race in America. Did you see it that way when you rendered your verdict?
Not at all. Not at all. It was based on, like I said, the evidence that was presented by both the prosecution and the defense. We looked at the actions of the police officers that were involved in the case. Mark Fuhrman, number one, the things that he did, the things that he said, him having to take the fifth during that trial, that brought doubt. And how could you deny it? How could you overlook it? That was just something that we took in and we had to consider. And again, it was the reasonable doubt whether or not O.J. killed Nicole and Ron Goldman. I don't know. I'm not sure of that. I'm not certain of it. I can't say for certain that he did, but there's definitely reasonable doubt that we had. And I'm very comfortable with the decision that I made.
Did you get a sense from any of your jurors that what happened to Rodney King was considered at all during your deliberations?
Not during deliberations. I think after years later, I heard some things that were coming from a couple of the other jurors that I didn't like what I heard that came from them, but it wasn't talked about in the jury room during deliberations.
You, I understand, heard part of my conversation earlier with Jeffrey Toobin and Michael Eric Dyson, just to name a few, and of course CNN correspondent who covered this case. What's your reaction to the way that it is being discussed?
I listened to your last segment with Jeffrey Toobin, and then when I heard him put a lot of that blame on Kato Kaelin, I thought that was tasteless and it wasn't correct. I don't think Kato Kaelin's testimony favored O.J. Simpson at all. I think he, said what he thought happened that night, showed Detective Fuhrman where he was and, the things that he heard. And that's all there was to it. I didn't put much weight into his testimony as in regards to O.J.'s innocence or guilt.
What did you make of the performance of the prosecution team Marsha Clark, Christopher Darden, compared to what was described as the dream team, defense counsel led by, of course, Johnny Cochran on behalf of O.J. Simpson. Were you looking and evaluating their performances?
I'm sure I was. I don't think they measured up. I think, especially Christopher Darden, he probably wasn't the right guy for that team.
Why?
He seemed, I want to say at times, very nervous, not confident, unsure of himself. When he asked OJ to try on the glove, I looked at him like he was crazy. Like, why would you have him do that? But he did it anyway. And I
Why
think
did you
that
think that was crazy? That's interesting to me. Why did you think that was a crazy moment?
because he didn't need to have him try on the glove. We looked at the glove, we could see the glove, and it was a big glove, and we assumed that it would fit. So when he had him try it on, and it appeared to be tight or too tight, it was just something that backfired. It was something that he did not need to do. We could, like again, we could look at the glove. We saw it was a big glove, and we would have assumed that maybe it fit. But he just gave him an opportunity to show something different.
That's fascinating that you assumed that it fit until he put it on, which of course led to that infamous line of, if it doesn't fit, you must acquit. I am curious as well about what it was like for you meeting Kim Goldman. What was that moment like for you?
I mean, I sat in the courtroom and watched her daily, so I was familiar with her. It was shocking to see her on that set because that's not what I was told that I was there for.
Really?
So that was a kind of gotcha moment. But it is what it is, and I just had to deal with it at that time. But I wasn't prepared to meet her. It was uncomfortable, but it had to happen.
No one told you that you were going to meet her that day? They just put you on the set with her?
That's correct.
How did you feel about that and how this case was viewed? What did you think they wanted you to do?
I'm not sure what their thoughts were, but again, that was a big surprise. That was not what I was told that segment was going to be about. So, but it was a little tacky.
Yolanda, tell me, what has it been like for you, knowing that you were a part of this trial? You were a juror in a case, as you have begun, has talked about the lasting and staying power of the fascination of the trial as well. How has your involvement affected your life, if at all?
I was able to move on and go about starting a family and just pushing myself away from the case. But from time to time, I would always get calls for interviews, and sometimes I would do them, and sometimes I wouldn't. But it hasn't had that type of impact on me. Again, it's just something that I'm pretty much adjusted to. When something involving the case or someone involving the case is relevant, but that day I can expect a call from a producer wanting an interview.
Did you have any reaction to his death?
I got a text message early this morning from a coworker, and I didn't know if it was a joke or not. So I text back, did he die? And he advised me that yes, he did. I don't watch TV anymore. I don't turn on the TV in my home. So I hadn't seen any news, but I started getting phone calls shortly after that. So that's how the news came to me.
Well, there's a great show you should watch on television. It comes on 11 p.m. Eastern. It's called Laura Coates Live. That's just a suggestion for you, Miss Yolanda. If you have one show to watch, that's the one you should. Thank you so much for joining me tonight.
Thank you. Thank you.